Both Notion and Fibery let you build databases, create docs, manage projects, and connect information. On paper, they look very similar, but in fact, they are very similar. However, they do approach data in completely different ways. Quick disclaimer, I work for Fibery, so this isn't exactly unbiased, but I'll show you when each tool works better, because we'd rather you pick the right tool for you than hate us later. I want to give you an analogy that hopefully clears some things up and gives you some understanding of the fundamental difference between the two. First, think of Lego. Those little blocks connect to each other in very specific ways. Follow the rules and you build something solid that won't collapse when somebody sneezes. Now think of clay. Clay is versatile. You grab a blob, you squish it into whatever shape feels right. It's no rules, just vibes. And that's essentially the choice you're making between Notion and Fibery. Where Notion is like clay, it's intuitive, it's flexible, and it's forgiving. And Fibery, on the other hand, is like those Danish blocks that connect to each other that I'm not allowed directly compared to Fibery, but you get the idea. They rhyme with Mego. It's structured, systematic, and every piece fits together in a specific way with specific purpose. Now let's say you're running a company that helps people book hotels and other places to live. Customers call with problems, support agents are drowning in tickets, and suppliers need occasional pestering. Then somebody hands you down a job of fixing this whole thing with software. My condolences. In Notion, you'll probably start with a page. Write down your process, throw in a database for tickets, create another page for suppliers. Problems pop up? No big deal. Just add more pages and link stuff together as you go. Again, very flexible. In Fibery, you gotta map those relationships first. Customers have tickets, tickets connect to suppliers, and agents handle multiple tickets. This entire data structure before you write a single word. Because Fibery is kind of like a strict parent. You gotta clean your room before you can play. Now fast forward 6 months. Your 5 agents became 20, new people join constantly, and immediately get lost. In your Notion setup, each new agent likely creates their own special way of organizing tickets, and information gets copied everywhere. But hey, when weird edge cases pop up, agents can easily create new workflows without waiting for IT to get their act together. In your Fibery setup, every agent uses the same exact structure whether they like it or not. Create a ticket and it automatically connects to a customer and pulls up all the booking details. And that's pretty slick. But when something doesn't fit the structure, you'll have to adjust your setup first. It's not anything hard, but it does take a few extra clicks. So Notion gives you speed, and it just works, vibes, at the cost of consistency. And Fibery gives you consistency, and it scales beautifully, man, vibes, but at the cost of flexibility, with a caveat, kinda. Meaning that flexibility is also possible in Fibery. It just takes a bit of experience and, getting your hands dirty. So hopefully by now you can see that neither is objectively better. They're just optimized for different kinds of tasks. At this point, you're likely thinking one or two things. Finally, this is something that's gonna solve all of my ridiculously complex problems. And two, wow, this is not solving anything for my special snowflake case. And both make sense. Now if you're excited, slow down. Fibery does handle complexity better than most tools, but it's not magic. You'll need to think through your processes and your data structure before you build anything. Plus, switching means time, effort, and the joy of designing everything from scratch again. Now if you're skeptical, you might be right. Maybe your current system is fine. Maybe your business is that special. Or maybe you just don't want to learn another tool right now. And fair enough, but something brought you here. Maybe it's friction in your current processes, or maybe you're curious about alternatives. Just keep that in mind as we go. The real question here isn't whether Fibery or Notion is better. It's whether switching or changing your setup is actually worth the hassle right now. Now I want to show you some use cases so you can get a better idea of how this works in practice. Now let's focus on three things here. What kind of work you're doing, how many people you're doing it with, and how complex your processes are. When it comes to tasks, Notion is really good at company wikis and documentation because docs are Notion's sweet spot. It's also great at simple project management, task lists, and basic tracking without the complex stuff. And basic team coordination, meeting notes, simple planning, and straightforward collaboration. And Fibery is great at product management, dev tasks that need deep hierarchy and relations, CRM workflows, when you need your sales process to connect tightly with project management, support tickets, or product dev, software development, epics, features, tasks, bugs, relationships with cross-team stuff, multi-departmental processes, lots of departments, different permission levels. Now the key difference here is Notion excels at content and simple coordination, while Fibery excels at structured processes where everything connects to everything else. Now let's take a look at team size. Think of it like this. If you're working solo or on a small team where everybody knows what everybody else is doing, the Notion's flexibility is actually perfect because you don't need a rigid system where you can just ask somebody across a room or remotely ping someone on Slack. But as you grow, more people, more team members, more specialized roles, more departments, you're gonna need to have something to keep things consistent because that communication is gonna break down at some point. Now your tipping point between Notion and Fibery here might be when you can't coordinate everything through Slack messages or quick hallway meetings anymore. And finally, let's take a look at complexity and how rich your tasks are. Notion is great for flat processes, simple workflows without complex dependencies or hierarchies, small data sets, under 10K records, filtering across relationships or with formulas, simple permissions, everyone on team needs similar access levels, and minimal automation. Occasional notifications, basic field updates are enough. And Fibery, on the other hand, is great at deep hierarchies. When you need more than 2 levels of relationships, department, team, project, task, subtask, that kind of jazz. Large data sets with performance needs, 10K plus records that need to stay fast and reliable. Complex permissions, different roles need different access. For example, contractors see only their projects, managers see their department, and executives, of course, see everything. And heavy automation and reporting. Complex formulas across relationships, automated workflows between departments, charts, dashboards, and the whole shebang. So how do you know? When you create elaborate workarounds in Notion for processes that you need to have on a daily basis, that's when Fibery's complexity becomes worth the learning curve. So should you switch from Notion to Fibery? We have no idea. If you're constantly hitting walls in Notion, creating elaborate workarounds, fixing the system where it just needs to be working, and just spending more time wrestling with the system than doing your job, then yeah, Fibery might solve some real problems for you. But if your Notion setup works without you wanting to chuck your laptop out the window, don't mess with it. Switching means migrating data, retraining your team, and just in general explaining why you're so busy improving things. Look, we're obviously biased towards Fibery. It pays our bills. But for real, Notion is pretty great. It solves tons of problems for millions of people right out the box. Not everybody needs obsessing over structure, but structure also good, very good. Use the system that's actually solving problems for you today. If that's your current system, stick with it. If that's not your current system, look for alternatives. You should start here. Thank you for your attention and have a blessed day.